Calling all rich little broke girls. From fashion intern to fashion executive, Nandi Howard just turned 30 and is finally coming up for air. If you need a career pep talk, this one's for you.
I remember being in my 20s sometimes. I didn't have the designer. I was not making that much. I had on my clothes that I brought from Houston and the clothes that were given to me from gifting and all of that. And I put some things together. If you go back on Getty and BOF, I was not the quote unquote fashion girl that some may say that I am today. I was just a girl that put on some clothes and worked in the industry, right? Like I would go to fashion shows, not trying to be somebody. I would honestly try to hide in the lines because I just would see the girls on the street style photos and all of that. And I just didn't have that at the moment. But I've just stayed focused, Kim. I just worked my behind off. I put my head down and I would write 5 to 7 articles a day. I would call designers, email designers. I put my head down, you know what I'm saying? And within 3 to 4 years, I would go to events and people say, Nandi, oh, you know what she's doing? Do you? And I'm like, me? The girl that just came from Houston that was like stuck in her 3 or 4 bed, 2 bath, paying under $1,000 for a room. Me, y'all are impressed by me. And little by little, I started to gain that confidence. But I didn't come to New York like, ooh, I'm that girl. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I came to New York like, somebody give me a fucking chance because I deserve it. And I just want to pay my fucking rent and my bills. I knew that I had something in me, but I did not think that I would reach this level at 30. I did not. I just knew like I work hard and I deserve it.
Welcome back to Rich Little Broke Girls, the only podcast for aspiring housewives and CEOs. Before we get into it, we need to talk. Miss Kimmy can't keep running her business without some feedback from my Rich Little Broke Girls. So take 20 seconds to leave a 5-star review with a compliment. It doesn't have to be true, but it has to be in writing. Nandi Howard, welcome to Rich Little Broke Girls.
Thank you for having me for like the second time, I think.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. You are an OG Rich Little Broke Girl. And you have always supported me from the very beginning. And I say all the time, like, I swear to God, you, from the very beginning, you were like, Kim, you got this. And that's not always how people are, right? I think a lot of times when you start an endeavor, people tiptoe and they want to see the success first. But you were someone that just believed in me instantly. And I know it's the Houston connection, but also you are very much that girl. You're the kind of woman that sees, you know, the best in people, and you're the kind of woman that is not afraid to support another woman, right? And you're not threatened by another woman, you know, trying to do big things. You're just like there in their corner, supporting them, clapping for them, cheering them on. So I've always appreciated you so much, and I wanted to give you your flowers.
Oh, thank you. That means a lot. I feel like I'm attracted to go-getters. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that energy, I sync with it. Can spot someone who like really wants it. And like when I sense that, I'm like, yo, I'm supporting like from the ground up. Yes, you said the Houston connection, but when I saw what you were doing, I was like, she wants it. You know what I'm saying? Like she wants it. And I really admire girls who come from like the suburbs like us and then are like, you know what? I can go one way and be successful and have a nice life and have a nice family. Or I can go to New York and take a chance on myself and see where I end up. And look where you've ended up. So I'm very proud of you. And I'm excited to see like what you do in the future.
Oh my God, thank you.
You're welcome, girlie.
Well, you're a newly minted 30, and you have had one hell of a run in your 20s. So I want to talk about it, right? Because when you look back at your early 20s, before the titles, the VP, the this, the that, I mean, you were basically the goddamn editor-in-chief of a major fashion publication. But before the titles, before the accolades, what do you think you misunderstood about ambition?
This is a really good question, and I'm going to go so vulnerable with this. I thought ambition meant external, and ambition is internal. Let me explain that. I thought ambition was showing people that I could do it. I thought ambition was trying to prove to other people that I could do it.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it was posting on Instagram, whether it was thinking about the praise before I planted my feet in the moment. That's what I thought ambition was. It was going to the panel and saying, "Oh, I can't wait to post this on Instagram," rather than planting my feet at the actual panel and realizing what I was saying there, right? Like I gave great advice, great things, appreciated everything that I was doing. Don't get me
Mm-hmm.
wrong, felt blessed in every moment. But in the beginning, my ambition was fueled by other people's praise. And I think that
Mm.
in the beginning, if your ambition can be fueled by your internal goals, by internal things you set within yourself, you don't feel disappointed because you don't feel like you're holding yourself to other people's standards. You're holding yourself to your own standard. That is what I would have told myself in the beginning about ambition. It is not about anybody else. The ambition comes from within. And now I totally believe that, right? But in my younger 20s, when I was like trying to climb the ladder, a lot of people's negativity would fuel me, right? And I just
Influence. Yeah.
wonder
Yep.
if I let positive things fuel me rather than those like, oh, she said I couldn't do it, so I'm just gonna show her. Rather than maybe allowing some of those more positive thoughts, I do feel like that would have fueled me in a different direction. I'm thankful for where I am now, but I just think that if somebody's listening to that, don't let those negative remarks fuel you. The internet's going to tell you, like, yeah, if they tell you you can't do it, go out and do it. And that's fine, right? But allow those positive thoughts more to fuel you, because you never want to get addicted to letting the negative fuel your success, you know?
Oh my God. I resonate with that so deep. And I know the girls listening are
Yeah.
like, Kimberly is fueled by spite.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
truly am. Like, I love being the
Mhm.
underdog. I
Mhm.
love when people count
Mhm.
me out. I
Of
love when people
course.
overlook me. And it just gives me so much
Yep.
energy. It gives me so much
Yep.
fuel. It really motivates me to do the thing that they said I couldn't
Okay.
do.
Yeah, of course.
And I always kind of need an op. Like I always kind of
Mhm.
need
Mhm.
this like hero's journey where I'm overcoming something or someone has done me
Yeah.
so dirty. So now I'm going to
Mhm.
prove
Mhm.
them wrong. And I think to your point, what I have learned in my 20s, I'm now about
Mhm.
to be 29, like
Yes.
that in turn really creates this sick pattern
Mhm.
and loop for external validation, right? You
There you
think that
go.
you're motivated because you want to prove people wrong, but really you're motivated because you're seeking that external validation, right? You need the external fuel. But like, what happens when everyone is on your side? What happens
Mhm.
when there's not someone there to piss you off? What happens when you've shitted on everyone on your shit list and there's no one left, right? Like,
Yes.
where does the motivation come from?
Because then you start looking.
Yeah. Yep.
You then start looking for people to shit on.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And that is when
Yep.
I knew, okay, Nandi, it's time to reevaluate. Because then I'm like, you've proved all the haters wrong, girl. Why? Who are you still trying to prove? You are a VP at 27. You are EIC at 25. Who else are you trying to piss off? And I had to, in this season of stillness, in this season of reevaluation, I had to say no more of you trying to prove anything. No more.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I set my goals and I set who I want to be. I set my standards. I set my benchmarks. Nobody else is going to set my benchmarks for me.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody else is going to tell me the rules of success. Nobody's going to tell me or create this ladder that I have to climb. I am no longer following that, right? And to a sense, you do. There are some societal things that you have to follow. So
Of
I'm not
course.
saying like
Yeah.
I'm just going balls to the wall, but I'm saying in my journey in this era of success, in this era of 30, I'm not following anybody's standards of success outside of my own.
I hear
Yeah,
that. I hear that. Because I do feel like in your 20s, right, you're trying to prove yourself, right? You're
of
trying to attach
course.
yourself to the right rooms, to the right names, to the right opportunities. But was there a point where you realized that being in the right rooms isn't everything?
Look, I think we have our perception of what the right rooms are, right? We have this idea in our mind on certain events, things that we may feel like are the right rooms, right? I think the right rooms you put yourself in where you value the people that are in that specific room and not value them for materialistic reasons, but value them because you value their success, you value their journey, you value their story. Now, valuable rooms could be like a fun, obviously, valuable rooms could be like a fun event that you and your friends go to. We love going to a beauty, a fashion event, don't get me wrong. But a
Mhm.
valuable room is something that's going to get you from point A to point B. And I feel
Mhm.
like when we as young women are figuring out or we're trying to figure out what specific rooms to be in, I will say I think I've always had a really good intuition on that. And I think that is why I
Yes.
kind of reached a specific level in my career so fast. I wasn't the type to really be out at every event, especially in New York City. Like I specifically was a type that if I felt good about it, if I felt like honestly it would get me to the next level, that's kind of how I operated in my 20s, to be completely honest. Now in my 30s, I'm actually opening up myself a little bit more to certain events and just kind of going just to like have fun with my friends or get a drink or whatever. But in my 20s, I have to be honest, I was pretty strategic about the things that I would go to. And I said no to a lot in my 20s, actually. And I said
Mhm.
no to a lot of events that I just didn't feel like fueled me. And sometimes I would like feel bad for not going or feel bad for not like showing my face, or maybe I should be seen more. But I will say that is something that I did do, was like, okay, if I can't go up to this person at this event and get this job or get this interview,
It's not
I don't
worth
want to
it.
do it, you know? So that is
Yeah.
kind of like what I did for sure.
Well, because at a certain point, it's also managing your energy, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, am I going to go to this event and watch this person on stage and not be able to speak to this person? And I'm just going to
Mm-hmm.
sit there and what, you know what I mean? Like at a certain point, it's
Yeah.
like, is this just a vanity play? Like, why am I actually in this room? Are there valuable people at this table that I could
Yeah.
potentially collaborate with, that we could potentially do work with together? Or is this going to be a dick measuring contest where people
Mm-hmm.
just want to follow me on Instagram or know, what I'm up to, and there's no real connection there. So I
Yeah.
definitely relate to you in that sense of like, I would so much rather manage my energy than to put myself in every single room because I want to be seen. I want to be in the photo. It's all about optics. Like, no, my energy is my life force, right? And
Yeah.
if I'm
Yeah.
trying to do what I need to do, then I need to have energy to do it. And I'm not going to
Yeah.
waste my energy, especially in, you know, the industries that we operate in, media, fashion, creative industries. A lot of times it can be a little vapid, not a little, it can be a lot vapid. And so
Mm-hmm.
I have always admired your intuition, and you've never been the girl who just like, I need to get this photo. I need to be in this room because I need to be seen in this room. It's really something that I think a lot of the girls listening can learn from. It's not always just about
Yeah.
being in the room to look like you're cool. It's like, no, like, why don't you build something cool? Why don't you do something cool with your time?
I want to be very clear. I'm not saying that every event you have to have ulterior motive. I want to be very clear. I feel like the girls who do think pieces on us saying that you have to go in a room sourcing people out. I'm not saying that. I am saying that in specific environments that you see beneficial for yourself, go in there with the plan, right? And that's what I definitely did in my
Mm-hmm.
20s. And I think that if you go in there not trying to get a photo op or not trying to be the quote unquote cool girl, within a few times, you become that girl. Do you get what I'm saying? I remember being in my 20s sometimes. I didn't have the designer. I was not making that much. I had on my clothes that I brought from Houston and the clothes that were given to me from gifting and all of that. And I put some things together. If you go back on Getty and BOF, I was not the quote unquote fashion girl that some may say that I am today. I was just a girl that put on some clothes and worked in the industry, right? Like I would go to
Mm-hmm.
fashion shows not trying to be somebody. I would honestly try to hide in the lines because I just knew, I just would see the girls on the street style photos and all of
Yeah.
that, and I just
It's a
didn't
lot. It's a
have
lot.
that at the moment. But I've just stayed focused, Kim. I just worked my behind off. I put my head down and I would write 5 to 7 articles a day. I would call designers, email designers. I put my head down. You know what I'm saying? And within 3 to 4 years, I would go to events and people would say, Nandi, oh, you know what she's doing? Do you? And I'm like, me? the girl that just came from Houston that was like stuck in her 3 or 4 bed, 2 bath, paying under $1,000 for a room. Me, y'all are impressed by me, and little by little, I started to gain that confidence. But I didn't come to New York like, "Ooh, I'm that girl. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that." I came to New York like, somebody give me a fucking chance because I
Job.
deserve it.
Yeah.
And I just want to pay my fucking rent and my bills, and I just want to go beyond the radar. I knew that I had something in me, but I did not think that I would reach this level at 30. I did not. I just knew like I work hard and I deserve it. That's all. Like how we were talking before you press record, I have a standard for myself and I just go out there and I get it. And I think that's what I would, if I tell any young girl, just think about that. Don't think about the accolades. Don't think about what's coming in the end. Think about now and the moment, and know that it will follow. It will come if you
Mm-hmm,
stay true
mm-hmm.
and genuine, you know?
Yeah, yeah. It's like you got to just do the work. Put your head down
Mm-hmm.
and do the work. And my
Do the
mother has
work.
always told me that do the work. And when you come to New York, in fact, I have a similar beginning. When I came to New
Yeah.
York, it's so glitz, it's so glamour. There's so much going on. There's so much access that you don't have access to. Everyone has really
Yeah.
nice things. Everyone is doing really interesting things. They're at the cool parties and they're at the cool dinners, and everyone has a really cool job and everyone knows really cool people. And when you're in New York, you want to be a part of that, right? Like you want to be in the mix. And I do
Yeah.
think that it's so easy to get lost in the sauce in a city like this, right? It's so easy to spend all your money trying to look cool. It's so easy, trying to spend all your time climbing an invisible social ladder and trying to get in the room. But what's the most sustainable strategy for New York is to actually do the work and become
Oof.
someone that people are interested in, become someone that delivers value, become the person that you're trying to meet, become the person that you're trying to rub shoulders with.
Yeah.
And that's what you have done. And I think that is what the most successful people in New York have done. There's this gentleman speaking on a podcast, and he said, in New York, people respect people that do like good shit. Like
Yeah.
you earn respect in New York through work. Like that is
Yep.
how you earn your respect. And so, yes, maybe, you're listening to this and you are getting a little lost in the sauce, but the reality is they'll never respect you if you don't actually bring anything to the table. If there is no
Yeah.
value there, if you don't actually work, right? Like
Yeah.
if you're not actually working on something and building something, you don't actually get anyone's respect, especially in a city like this, right? The center of capitalism. Like you got to
Mm-hmm.
work
Mm-hmm.
here.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah. People can say a lot about you, right? People can say a lot about me, a lot about you, etc. But I think one thing that leaves people's mouths when they talk about me is Nandi does the work. I don't think there is a person that hasn't met me that can say that I don't work my ass off. Now they can say a lot of things, but they are going to end with she's a hard worker and she does what she says. And I think, to be honest, that's the season I am. Okay, the chitter chatter, that's fine, but at least as long as you guys know that I produce results and I bring in the
Mm-hmm.
work, that's what we're going to keep saying. We're going to keep ending with. So I think people also need to know that there's going to be certain things that are said in the workplace, outside of the workplace, but you have to know that people respect doing the work. They may say X, Y, and Z, but if you do your work, you're going to get a lot further, you know.
It's
Yeah.
so, oh my God, it's so
Yeah.
true. It is so true. Like, get your work done, produce
Mm-hmm.
results. And
Yep.
yeah, you can say whatever you want about me, but I do the work. Do I
I
not?
do the work.
I do the
Mm-hmm. Do I
work.
not?
You do the
Mm-hmm.
work. You are a hard
Yeah.
working
Yep.
girl. Rich Little Broke Girls is supported by you and our brand partners. So if you love me, don't treat me like a boy, and let's make it official. Put it on record where our sponsors can see and give me a 5-star review with a compliment. It doesn't have to be true, but it has to be in writing. You have a very specific energy. It's
Yeah.
ambitious, but it's not frantic. So I want to break down the Nandi playbook in real time. So if there's a girl
Okay.
in her 20s and she's listening and she wants to move like you, I want you to walk us through how you would handle a few very specific situations.
Okay, let's do it. I'm gonna be
Okay,
honest with
let's do
this
it.
too.
Yes. Okay. Okay, the first one I have, you're offered a role, but it's not the title or the money you wanted. Do you take it for proximity? Do you negotiate or do you walk away?
Okay, depends on the place and it depends on where you are financially in your life. Nandi would probably take it. And I'm going to tell you why. Because probably a job that I get offered is, if I apply for a job, it's going to be somewhere that I want to work. And I really believe in climbing the ladder. Like, I was the girl that when I graduated college, I took internships, I took fellowships for the year so that I could get easily into the industry. Because let me tell you, you have to find your way and sneak your way into this industry.
Girl,
So
girl.
what I did was when I graduated, I applied for internships and I said, well, at least if I get in the office, then I can negotiate my way to a job. And that's exactly what I did. I applied for internships right after college, got my ass up in that office and said, y'all hiring full time? And eventually it got me a job. So I would always say, if you get offered something, the internet will tell you know your worth, and I 100% stand by that, right? Don't be afraid to negotiate. Don't be afraid to kind of put out there, hey, I do feel like I deserve more and I feel like I deserve a higher title. But if you're entry level young, I do definitely think it's no harm in taking something that may not be exactly what you want, but if you know you're a hard worker, if you believe in yourself, child, you get a promotion within the year. That's what happened to me. I got a promotion every year in my 20s from like 23 to like 27. Every single
Insane.
year, I got a promotion. My salary went up by 15 to 20,000 every single year. I started at 50,000 and I think this is important for girls to hear. I started at 50,000 in like 2018 and I ended six figures very comfortably before my 30s,
Hmm.
to where
Hmm.
I could live in a one bedroom apartment. I have a BMW X3 in New York and I'm able to travel. So you guys do the math on what that may look like from ending with the
Hello?
salary. But I started from something. I started from nothing, actually. I couldn't even afford an apartment with the job that I started with. You
Yeah,
know
I
what I'm
know.
saying? Barely. I couldn't even barely afford anything, Kim. Like literally broccoli, ramen, black beans, and rice. That is what my like
Yeah.
daily freaking food was, right? And then ending to where I have a chef, I have this, I can have a trainer, I can work out at Equinox, I can go to Soul House, and that doesn't have to be everybody's goals, right? But that's what I want. So and that's what I
Hmm.
have, right?
Get in the room and do the work is what I heard.
Do the work.
Get in the room.
Yeah.
Because if you applied for the
Hmm.
job, you likely wanted it, right? If you applied to work at
Yeah.
the company, you likely respect the company. So get in the room, especially if you're entry level, and do the work and climb the ladder.
Yeah.
And you truly are. You are the epitome of a woman who has climbed that goddamn ladder. Okay, like from
Girl.
intern to VP to editor in chief. You
Girl.
know what I mean? Like you
Hmm. Hmm.
really have always been playing such a long game. And
Yeah.
I know if you go online, everyone will tell you to be an entrepreneur, start your
Yeah.
own
Yeah.
business, do your own thing. But what you have shown the girls is that, first of all, get your footing in the industry. Learn how to do something on somebody else's dime, right?
Come on now.
Create connections and build relationships on somebody else's
Mhm,
dime, on someone's
mhm,
payroll, you
mhm.
know?
My assistant works for a PR company in the city, and she was complaining to me. She was like, Nandi, I don't know if I can do this. I said, girl, if you don't get all those contacts for New York Fashion Week and set up at least 5 coffee chats because you work for one of the best PR agencies in New York City, if you don't get into that email and get 5 of those contacts and email those girls and sit down, you bet you are not using your resources properly. And now she has 5 meetings with the top girls that she looks up to in New York City. And I said, if you don't have a job by the end of that, I have not taught you anything. you know?
Yeah, yeah. Tell
Mm-hmm.
us a little bit, just going, we're gonna go off script for a second, but tell us a little bit about the importance of that one-on-one, face-to-face
Oh,
coffee chat.
oh my gosh, that is so important. Once you get over the anxiety of sending the email, then you're fine, right? Because sometimes you're like, I don't know if I should do this. Just press send. Just do it, and don't get offended if they don't respond. Follow up with something gently, and then maybe I follow up. I will tell y'all I follow up like 3 to 5 times, and it's okay. It's fine.
Yeah.
Like, and you just stay nice, you stay cordial, and if they don't respond, they don't. And if they do, then you have that chance, and you have that footing, you have that in just it's so important, and I think I still have coffee chats to this day with my mentors, with people I still look up to. I'm literally emailing women that I look up to that I'm like, I admire you now in this next era. That coffee chat gives you that motivation. It keeps you going. It lets you know people's stories, how people became who they are. And I just had a coffee chat with someone who I was like, I just want to. This young girl wants to talk to me, and she texts me like, "Thank you for being a mentor." I'm like, "What the hell?" Like, I don't look at it going into it like that. I don't look at it like my mentees, my this, my that. It's like
Mm-hmm.
I just want to help the girls. Like I
Mm-hmm.
still feel like I'm a little young child, I think,
You
but
are.
I'm like, I just
We
want to
are.
help the girls. We are right.
Yeah,
I
we
just
are.
think about that, and I think there's been so many Black women in my career that have really helped me, Kim, that have really sat me down when they didn't need to, probably when they were going through life and really spoke life into me. And I can only give that back.
Send
Yeah.
the email if you are trying to build your career and break
Yeah.
into whatever industry you're interested in. Send the email. Send the email and
Yeah.
then follow up 3 to 5 times gently and
Yeah.
kindly,
Gently.
and don't be
Yes.
afraid of a no. Don't be embarrassed if they don't respond.
Yeah.
Just like put yourself out there. Ugh,
It's
that's
okay. Like, it's
solid
fine.
advice. Yeah,
Yeah.
you'll live. You'll live.
You
You'll live.
live. Yeah.
Okay, back to Nandi's playbook.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
second scenario,
Okay.
someone publicly undermines you in a meeting. Do you
Ooh.
correct it in real time? Do you circle back later? Or do you let your work speak for itself?
Okay, so I'm gonna tell you what you should do, and then I'm gonna tell you what Nandi did. So, what you should do if somebody publicly corrects you in a meeting, you should just gently say, "Hey, like, you know, that is probably not how I see it, but we'll talk about it offline." Something very professional, something very cordial,
Like
something
in the
that
moment.
yeah, in the moment. That's my personal advice. You, in the boardroom, in the meeting room, you want to let people know that they need to respect you, but you want to do it in a professional and kind way, right? And so if somebody undermines you in a meeting or something where you do feel, be like, hey, that's not something that I personally agree with, or hey, I'm, not understanding your tone, or I'm not understanding specifically what you mean by that, but let's chat about it and let's talk offline. And then once you do that, you can have a one-on-one to them. You can say, hey, I just wanted to kind of understand what exactly was happening within that meeting. What did you mean by that? You always want to understand what somebody's intention was before you just kind of,
Hmm.
just attack them,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Even if you know that their intention wasn't good, ask them to explain it first. And then once they
Hmm.
explain it, and you probably will disagree, say, hey, okay, I totally understand you, but that wasn't my intention. I didn't appreciate that. And moving forward, let's just make sure to always like stay aligned. You got to keep it really cordial, but check people in like a very, very professional way. Once you do that, they respect you for coming up to them. They respect you for handling it professionally. And yet you can even say something like, I'm sorry if, I came off a little bit irrational or whatever the case may be, but I just really didn't appreciate that response. And you just keep it very like, oh my gosh, how could you do this? How could you do this to me? Oh, but you still have that like you still have that authority to and confidence to the situation. Now, I will say the reason why I can give that advice is because Nandi hasn't always done that, right?
Mm.
Transparently, I mean business when I'm in that boardroom and I'm in that meeting, and um, it doesn't always go down like that, right? It doesn't always go down where you kind of respond in the most professional manner. I feel I'm passionate and I really care about what I do. And I'm a creative at heart, right? And so when
Hmm.
somebody says something to me, I sometimes get in my feelings. I sometimes take it personal. And that is something that you cannot do, especially when you're in that corporate setting, right? Like nothing is personal within the corporate setting, it is all for the business. And so I have to tell people listening, it hasn't always been that, oh, how could you do this? Oh my gosh, let's talk professionally. Sometimes it's been like, what are you talking about? What are you saying? Let's reframe that. What's going on? And I
Hmm.
will say, sometimes that may be needed because sometimes there are situations where people have to know, hey, look, we're not going there. But I think that you have to use your instinct on when that is appropriate and when it's not, right?
Hmm.
Because I do
Hmm.
believe that in work situations, you can get walked over, walked on, you can get taken advantage of, and you want to make sure there's a clear line behind that. You want to know people know not to disrespect you, but you also want to have an agency to where people feel like they can come to you, they can talk to you, they can confide in you when it
Oh,
comes to work.
yeah,
So you,
it's a
yeah, so you
balance.
want to make sure that there's that thing. It's a balance of, okay, we know that she means business, but we also know that we can come to her and talk to her, and she's also going to give us really great feedback and care and kindness and those types of things. So you
Mm-hmm.
just want to make sure
Mm-hmm.
that you have that balance when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to things that happen in the workplace, because they're always going to happen. You're always going to feel some type of way when you work in corporate, you know?
It sounds like it's important to set the boundary, but also be receptive because you
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
want people to think, oh, she's closed off. I can't come to her with any feedback.
Yeah.
She's not going to hear me.
Mm-hmm.
She's not receptive. So, yeah, it seems like a delicate balance, but that is really good advice.
Yeah, it's a definitely a delicate balance. I would say if somebody checks you or quote unquote kind of speaks to you in a way and you're in a meeting in front of people, it's different from when you are also an employee and when you are the boss, right? That advice that I
Mm.
specifically gave just now was for the employee, right? It's for the person that's not the leader. For the specific leader in the room, there's a specific way that you have to respond if somebody was quote unquote speaking to you disrespectfully, or if it was an employee or whatever. That's a completely different response
Mm-hmm.
than if you're just
Mm-hmm.
working there and you're a junior employee, right? As a
Mm-hmm.
leader, you have to follow a whole different set of rules, because to be honest, no one's going to like you as a boss. To be honest, bosses are not liked. You know, they can say, oh my gosh, I love my boss, she works great, Nandi's great, but in the end, you're not going to be the boss where, you know, they're going to kiki with about work things, because you are the boss, right? And if you are the boss that's kikiing with your staff, that's not a good thing. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
so when you're the boss, that's a completely different set of rules and that you have to follow, because sometimes you may have to kind of draw a line in the sand with your staff, because you have to create boundaries as a leader, you know?
Okay, number three. You're trying to get an internship when you don't have experience yet. What is your workaround?
You have to find a specific internship prior to that that kind of gives you something on your res, and then apply for like your dream one, right? So like when I was in college, I worked for this social media company called like LulaFit. They did like, it's so funny because now I have my wellness club and I'm thinking it's kind of the same thing, but it is basically, it was like just a fitness company that will go around and do like meal preps and planning and classes and stuff like that in the Chicago area, because I went to DePaul in Chicago. And so I did not want to do a social media job. I was just like, okay, but it was something that was there, and it kind of gave me that like coming in the office vibe and feel.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of wanted to work for a magazine, but I know I needed something on my resume. So I did that, and then after that, I did an internship at this place called Dude 312, where basically I just uploaded events to a website, and it's where people would get like events in Chicago. I got that under my resume, and then I applied for Chicago Women's Magazine. I think like my senior year or into my junior year of college, and like got into the magazine world and was a social media intern for there, and just had like the best time and wrote articles. And that's kind of when I got into like my editorial and stuff. So I just
Mm-hmm.
kind of like
Mm-hmm.
worked, got my experience in the ground, like just figured out what I liked and what I didn't, but still put my best foot forward in like my internships and things like that. And just like kind of just had a really good time there. So that's what I would say. Like if you have a dream internship, but you necessarily don't have experience, there's somebody that always needs help. Somebody always needs extra hands. And so you just have to kind of find and search that, and then apply for the one that you really want.
I would say to piggyback on that, and this, you're either gonna accept this, girls, or you're not. If you can afford to, do not be afraid to work for free. If you can afford
Yes.
to, do the work for free. Just do that.
Yeah.
Just get the experience on your resume. Because to Nandi's point, people always need help, but they don't always have the budget to hire help. So at
Yeah.
least get in the door so that you can have a little bit of experience on your resume and then quit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's just the reality of the situation.
Yeah.
Sometimes you do have to work for free. And honestly, when you are working for free, they can be but so demanding, right? So it's
Hmm.
like you could have a job that's
Well,
paying
the
you.
girls get kind of crazy.
Oh, do they?
Girl, I know. Girl, now I ain't go to. I know a PR agency in New York City that does not pay the girls, but keeps them there till about 8 to 9 p.m.
Oh my God.
Monday through Friday, Kim. 8, 9. They get in that office at 9 a.m. and they stay about till 8, 9 p.m. and they don't pay. And it's a 5-month internship in fashion. So what I will say to that is, to Kim's point, people do not pay. However, give yourself a year for no payment. I do not recommend going past a year. Because
Yeah, I
Kim.
was thinking like 3 months, maybe six.
Oh my God. She said, "Oh baby, I can't go past
In
enough
and
money for
out.
that."
Get in the door, get the contact, get out. I'm
Oh my
not
gosh.
a
So
year?
yes, look, she said a year. Okay, let me now. This is my advice, Kim. It doesn't sound like Kim agrees with this, but I'm gonna tell my advice. I say a year. I say a year if you can afford it, right? This is very clear. If you can afford it, I say a year because in this fashion world, you are going to reach a few jobs that are going to pay you livable wages. Not This is not everybody's experience, right? This is a girl who's more of a creative, who's a journalist, who's a creator. This is for the girls that are listening, right? This is for the
Mm-hmm.
girls who are trying to get it in a way that doesn't follow the status quo. And if you try to work in fashion or beauty or etc., especially in these internships, they're either going to pay you nothing or they're going to pay you below minimum wage. If
Yeah.
you can afford it, work your butt off for a year. But that does not mean work and stay stagnant. That means you're working and you're applying for jobs. That means you're working and you're putting out on social media every event you do, everything you do. That means you are posting all the work. I don't care if you just worked an event for a freaking sandwich shop. You better post that shit online and take photos in front of the sandwiches. You better do what you got to do that year. And I promise you, you will reach the level that you need to do. But you have to scale. You have to think about scaling before you get your dream job. I used to work at Covetor, BT. When I moved to New York, 7 days out the week I was working. 2 days at Brother Valley's in Greenpoint at Brooklyn, 3 days at BT, 2 days at Covetor. I was working my behind off, and I've archived a lot of photos. But I would be in the back room at Brother Valley's, in the back room, unboxing shoes. Oh my gosh, I love my job. Then I'd be at BT like, all in a day is work. Y'all see my ID. Then I'd be at Covetor like, this fashion shoot with Chanel and Dior. Like, girl, I was selling it.
You have
Okay.
to. You have to.
But look, by the end of that year, I was a 23-year-old fashion editor at Essence Magazine because I sold it for that year. I sold it good. And I remember sitting my first day at the fashion editor job like, bitch, am I a fashion editor? What the hell? How did I get here? How? It was in a year. Like, I was like, okay, shit. Okay, you can write. Okay, here we go. All right, you remember what you learned in journalism school. Because I had just graduated a year ago. I was a fashion editor. And I just graduated a year ago because that year, bitch, I sold it down to the point where the industry was like, who the hell is this girl that just came from Texas all on the internet talking about all in a day's work? Like, you know what I'm
No,
saying?
guys, the crazy part is Nandi is like a grade above me. So I would have still been in university, still in college, my senior year.
Yeah.
I kid you not. And I've known Nandi since we were like in middle school or high school. Like, we're both from Houston, Texas.
Yep.
So I followed her on Instagram. I kid you not. I was like, oh, she's crushing it. Oh my God, she's killing it. Oh my God, like she is living like the fashion girl dream in New York. You were selling it. I remember this photo she posted when you were in New York and I was still in DC in school. And it was a photo. It was your picture ID at BET. And it was like the coolest thing ever. And then she had like bylines in Covetor, which Covetor is hot right now. Covetor is back. But back
They're
in
back.
the day, Covetor was hot. It
Oh
was like,
my
how
gosh. It
is
was a
she at
thing.
Covetor? It was
Girl,
the
a
thing.
black
Like,
woman.
it was so cool. And then, yes, and then you got the job at Essence. And it was just like, It was you were operating at such an insane speed and at such
Yeah.
an insane level that it only makes sense, right? And I think if you're listening to this and you're like, okay, I just graduated or I'm trying to break
Yep.
into an industry, you cannot be afraid of these internships. You absolutely
Nope.
cannot be afraid of these internships. I don't care if you have to go bartend on the weekends, like you
Girl.
need to get your ass in the door, have as many jobs as you possibly can. I have been
Yep.
there. I have done it.
Yep.
I had one unpaid job and an internship while working a full-time job all at
Mm-hmm.
the same time, just so that I could have the face time with these, decision
Yep.
makers, with these managers that could do the hiring or that could, refer me for another job. It is so important to get as much FaceTime, right? Because as I say all the time, your success is directly correlated with your visibility, right? And so
Yep.
you need to be as visible as you possibly can. Get in front of people, shake as many hands, have as many coffee chats, right? And then at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, make sure that you're telling your story online. Make sure that you're
Yep.
sharing with people what you're doing, what you're up to, what projects you're working on, what events you're going to, who you're working for. Like it is so important to communicate what you're doing, not only to the
Mm-hmm.
internet, but the people that you're working with and that you're working for. And you are a
Yep.
shining example of that. And I do remember that period of your life because you were absolutely
Yep.
crushing it. And everybody knew you were crushing it because you didn't forget to tell us that you were crushing it. You know what I mean? And it
Baby, I
worked for
did
you.
not. And I think the best thing that I could say is if you are in a growth period where you want to scale your work, you share. And then if you
Mm-hmm.
are in a period where you are comfortable, you pull back, right? You don't always
Mm-hmm.
have to be in this space where you overshare. But if you're in a building block in your life, I don't think there's anything wrong with like putting yourself out there and scaling your work and scaling the visibility. But it doesn't have to be something that's like on this um consistent basis where you're like overworking yourself, burning yourself out. I think it's more of like
Yeah.
figure out like, okay, within this next year I'm growing and I want to have a job at the end of this year, so now within this year I'm going to push myself,
And you
scale my
have to.
work, scale, and then take a step back. Like after I became the fashion editor, I didn't really have to do all of that selling because baby, I was getting there was it was in my email. Like I'm doing this X, Y, and Z, and it doesn't matter if I post because I'm the fashion editor now. So all of
Yeah.
that worked, like it was something that now I was like, oh well, I'm in the room, so I post when I want and I don't when I don't.
Okay, the next scenario for Nandi's playbook. You're applying for jobs
Yes.
and you keep getting the "we'll keep you in mind" message, right? How do
Yeah.
you follow up without chasing, or even how do you just keep the momentum? Because it can be so debilitating. It can be a crush to
Yeah,
the
again.
soul if you keep getting that maybe next time, or we'll keep you in mind, we'll hold on to your resume. We went in a different direction. It's hard.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you're probably going to hear that more than you hear yeses. You know what I'm saying? You're probably going to hear that more than you hear no's. So you really have to use that. You have to put them in a box, right? Like it doesn't mean like a FU box. It kind of means like a follow up later box, right? I always kind of go by the basis of reach out to somebody new every week when you're in your building block period. Because when you do that,
Oh.
your mind is focused on the next. And then, like, once you get that response from the person you reached out to 5 weeks ago, it kind of creates that ripple effect. And then like if you once you get the response of kind of like, hey, not right now, like I said, you put them in a box and you kind of put them in the follow-up box, how we talked about a little bit earlier. So it's like follow up, I think 3 to 5 times. Personally, that's my recommendation. Some people would be like that's way too much or whatever, but I think like 3 to 5 times is something that's doable, that doesn't really annoy personally the leader, which I can speak for. But you kind of just put them, you space it out, right? Like, you don't follow up 3 to 5 times all within like 2 weeks. Now you space it out for months, and maybe like you space out that 5 times within the year. It's not like
Mhm.
you try to hound them all within. And that to me is kind of how you don't get discouraged. It's okay, y'all. It's going to be okay. You're going to hear no's and I don't knows and all of that before you hear the yeses and the amazings and the we want you, or people even reaching out for your work when you don't even have to apply for jobs. That's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that I don't ever have to apply for a damn job again. Okay.
Mhm.
Like, you know what I'm saying? That's what I'm
Yeah.
hoping for me. But I think it's just about not being discouraged, right? Because once you get discouraged, you then put yourself in a box and you then start to think, well, what can I do? Can I reach that level of success? Can I reach the position or the place that I want to be in? You have to have that motivation and that ambition beyond the nose and beyond like the things that would tear you down or the things that are kind of built as roadblocks, because those are exactly what they are. They're roadblocks to stop certain people from reaching that specific level. Not everybody can reach the top, right? But there's going to be specific roadblocks. Kind of look at them as like speed bumps within your career, within your life. And like there's people that whose tires are going to pop at the speed bumps and they're going to get stuck and they're going to have to call AAA and it's going to take them a little bit longer. Or there's people that are going to like kind of slowly go over them and strategically go over them and keep going and like create a steady pace. And that's how people should look at like life and climbing the ladder, you know?
I love what you said about you create your own momentum by
Yeah.
working on what's next, right? So if you have a plan to reach out to 5 people every week or one person every week,
Mm-hmm.
if someone says no, you're not worried about that because you have 5 more people that you have to reach out to,
Girl,
right?
you
That
got
you're
five more
planning to reach.
people. Yeah.
You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And
Mm-hmm.
so, yeah, and I needed to hear that as well because just as a business owner, a founder,
Yeah.
building, it is so important to put yourself out there, but it can also be so discouraging if you don't get a response or if someone says, oh, not right now, we can't work on that right
Yep.
now. But if you're more focused on what's next and okay, like let me just find the yes, let me go out there and find a yes, let me go out there and reach out to someone new, let me connect with someone new, then you're not as disappointed and it won't debilitate you, right? It won't slow you down.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that advice.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
more. You're at an industry event and you don't know
Mm-hmm.
anyone in the room and no one's checking for you.
Ooh.
How do you insert yourself without forcing it?
Oh, girl, just go up to somebody and be like, what's your name? Like, literally, that's how I met all of my
Okay.
friends in the industry. Like,
Okay.
it's not that deep and it's not that serious. That is my motto. Literally, it's not that serious. I tell that to everybody. Like, and you're not that cool. And you're like,
Mm.
get out your head. People don't really care. They don't see you like that in the room. Like, you ain't walking in and everybody's like, oh my God, that girl that's not talking to anybody. They don't care. They are talking, they are drinking their drink and they care about the conversation that they're having. Literally, I have met so many young girls who before they walk in the room, they've come up to me and they've done their research, right? They know who's going to be in the room and they have done their research on me and they have come up and they've been like, I know exactly who you are. I want to work for you, or I want to, can you follow me or whatever. Or they never ask, can you follow me? They always say, oh, I follow you, etc. And I follow, once a girl comes up to me, I immediately follow her back. I don't care. I say, give me your Instagram. I'm following you back right now. Cause you have that grit, that ambition to come up to me. And I did the same thing. I would say, okay, if I don't know anybody in this room, I need to figure out who's going to be in this room. So then I can say like, oh, hey, Andrew Barber, he owns Fake Shore Drive in Chicago. It's a blog. And when I was in college, I saw him at a event, and I knew exactly who he was. I went up to him and I said, I'd love to freelance for you. And that's kind of how I started doing a little bit of music journalism. That is what I would encourage the girls to do. If you know you're going to be in a room, figure out who's going to be in there so then you can spot them out and you can curate a conversation. And if you don't do that, that's totally fine, because sometimes we don't always have that time to do the research, or we just don't have the access to. You walk in and you just kind of mix and mingle. Like, go in, I always say, go in with a goal. So maybe it's like you just hope to have connect with one person and connect with one person with and get one person's email. Or maybe sometimes for you it's like 3 people and get 3 people's email, because then you don't think about going in a room and exiting quickly because you feel awkward. It kind of gives you a challenge a little bit. You know,
Mm.
like when people are on their bachelorette trips and they're like, I don't know, kiss a stranger, take a shot from the
Yeah, like a
bar,
scavenger
like,
hunt.
yeah, like a little scavenger hunt. Like, kind of, if you are new to the space and you are new to like pushing yourself out there and networking, or you're just looking to get something more, like if you're listening to this and you already go to events and you're looking to get something more, start treating those events like a little scavenger hunt or just something. And it doesn't have to gamify it by any means, and don't put too much pressure on yourself, but maybe like start small. One email, one this, one hello, one drink with somebody, maybe get a drink for somebody or bring a drink to somebody, maybe connect with one girl that looks like you, just kind of set some little standards for yourself that are reachable, that can be fun. And you never know how the outcome of the event will go. But I always like say, go in there not scared. Go in there just kind of like with some confidence, just a little bit. We all have our insecurities, but go in there just kind of being you, having fun, and not taking it too seriously.
Ugh, I needed to hear that because
Mm.
I cannot stand a room where I don't know anyone. It just, I get
Yeah.
so overwhelmed and I'm just like, why
Mhm.
am I even here? Like, I need to leave. Like, this makes me very
Yeah.
uncomfortable. But I can totally see how if you set a goal for yourself, because I am goal oriented, right? Like, I
Yeah.
like to
Yeah.
win.
Mhm.
If you set a goal for yourself in that room, then at least you will stay until you have fulfilled or achieved that goal, right? So if my goal is to meet the one person, get the one email,
Yep.
at least I have something occupying my mind. It's like, okay, how am I going to get the email? Who am
Yeah.
I going to
Yeah.
meet? Instead of, my insecurities, occupying my mind, or like my nerves occupying my mind, and my I don't want to be here occupying my
Yeah.
mind. Like, give yourself a goal so that you can at least stay a bit longer than you would if you're like
Then
so
you expect
overwhelmed,
it.
so uncomfortable. Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Oh my
I
God.
always, even if I'm very nervous, I'll still go up to like people in the room that I idolize. Like I remember I was at the CFDA and I went up to Samira, who's like the editor in chief of Harper's Bazaar. I didn't ask her for an email. I didn't do anything. I just said, Samira, you are like one of my idols. I love you so much. I really appreciate you. I just think what you're doing for the industry is so great. And she told me what you're doing at Essence is great. I'm like, what? You know me? Oh my God. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I didn't ask for an email, but it's like now when I do email her and maybe ask her for a coffee chat, she remembers me from that moment that I went up to her. So also be
Mhm.
strategic. Maybe this person is super busy and kind of like your idol, so you don't want to like go with the coffee chat and turn, right off the bat, but you at least make a memorable moment. You go up to them and then you scavenger the internet for their email, and that's maybe how you approach it. Just be strategic in the way that you kind of make a mark on people.
Oh my God, yes. I will definitely
Mm-hmm.
say, I've been doing this since I was young. But
Yeah,
I always would lead with compliments. Ever since I was a young girl, like if I was
great
trying to enter a
advice.
friend group or something like that, I would
Mm-hmm,
always
mm-hmm.
lead with a compliment. But now I would kind of revise the wording of that and say lead with giving people their flowers, right?
Oh,
Especially if
yes.
it's someone that you admire, if
Mm-hmm.
there's someone that you
Yep.
know. I was just at a gala in LA a couple weeks
Mm-hmm.
ago, and by no means or standards was this like a strategy or a part of
Yeah,
of
yeah.
my plan, but it's just something that I do. I saw Danessa Myricks and I went
Love
up
her.
to her and I just gave her flowers, and
Yeah.
everyone was like, yes, absolutely,
Mm-hmm.
and everyone was in agreement, right? Because obviously the woman that she is and the business that she has created and the impact that she has
Yeah.
left on so many of us is, you know unbelievable. And so I do think that, leading with giving someone their flowers, if it's someone that you admire, they don't forget that. I mean, think about when you're in a room, Nandi, and someone comes up to you and they give you your
Yeah.
flowers. It makes you feel really special. And so I think
It
that's like
does.
one way to go up to someone that you admire. But if you're going up to someone that maybe you don't know that well, like lead with a compliment. Oh my God, I love this two-piece suit. Who makes it? Oh, it's
Mm-hmm.
so good. I've been looking
Mm-hmm.
for one. And start the conversation there with a compliment. Oh my God, your
Okay, yeah.
hair color, whatever it is, something that you genuinely admire and you feel like you can have a conversation about it. Maybe it's their jewelry. Jewelry is a really great conversation starter. If they have on a
Yeah.
statement piece, like lead with that. There are ways to get outside of your comfort zone in a way that is subtle and is comfortable and could lead to a lasting impression. So,
Yeah,
that
definitely.
all of that was so good. I love that.
Thank
Nandi's
you.
playbook.
Yeah.
I want to talk about transitions because,
Yes.
shifting careers, pivoting,
Hmm.
or just outgrowing rooms can get and
Yeah.
feel so messy. And you strike me as someone who never loses her cool, right? You
Yeah.
very much
Yeah.
have a poker face. You're very much like there is no tea here.
Yeah.
Keep it moving kind of a vibe.
Mm-hmm.
How intentional is that?
It's very intentional because you never know where you could end up or where you could go back to. You know what I'm saying? And
Hmm.
so I would say there's always going to be things internally that happen. You know what I'm saying? There's always going to be internal conflict. And I'm talking about in places that you work. There's always going to be there's always going to be things that you just don't agree with, right? And there's going to be things that you love about the place and that you adore and you admire and that really keep you there working, regardless of how things end, regardless of what decision drove you to end it, regardless of any of that. When you externally start to diminish the places, people, things that helped you get to a level to where you are, regardless of whatever you want to call it, whether they helped you, whether they did X, Y, and Z, you are in the place that you are because of the things in the past. When I'm in regards to work, it never looks good to talk negatively about the places, people, things that you once were a part of, the institutions that you once were a part of. Now, some people may agree with that, some people may not. Some people may say, look, I'm going balls to the wall and exposing and going on Twitter and TikTok and those types of things. And look, more power to those people. But my playbook is always keep it cordial, always keep it professional, externally and internally as much as you can. But when
Mm-hmm.
you transition, when you think about, hey, what's that next level in my space or in my life or in my journey, and it's time to reflect on the past moments, you always want to give appreciation and you always want to point out and pull out those good monumental moments that got you to where you're going, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is a strategy to reach the level of success that you want. You people, they respond very poorly to when you speak negatively about your past employers or when you speak negatively about experiences. And that does not invalidate anybody's experience. That does not mean you did not go through what you went through, but it's about, hey, strategically and get till I get to a level where I feel like no matter what I say, I can't be affected or reprimanded, which to be honest is like never in life. I'm going to move at a pace that puts me in the best light when I go to the next candidate or when I reach the next job or when I try to go for that next brand campaign, right? And like I said, not this advice, everybody may not agree with because some people feel like, um, we're in a world, we're in a space where people want to share their experiences, whether they're positive or negative. So I don't want to make anybody feel like their experiences aren't validated. But I'm speaking to those girls who are working in corporate, who are working in editorial, who are working with brand deals, who are working with companies, major companies that either send them checks, provide checks, are the way that they pay their bills. You have to be strategic in the way you exit. And that exit is almost is just important as the enter. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
People look at
Mm-hmm.
that exit and they say, how did she exit? Okay, what did she do? What does it look like? How does she thank the people that help? People look at that specifically because they want to know how will you exit their company, because there's going to always be an exit. You're always going to leave a place. So people are looking at that and saying, okay, well, when she gets in here, how is she going to treat the employees? How is she going to talk about the employees when she leaves? People want to, they value that exit just as much as they value the enter.
Absolutely. And
Mm-hmm.
I think people don't understand that whether you're getting hired by a brand, whether you're getting hired by an employer, by an organization, by an institution, people are trying to observe and understand your program. What program is she running? What time is she on? And if you are someone that comes to the internet to air your grievances, then they understand that is your program. And a
Mm-hmm.
principle that I
Yep.
think everybody needs to live with and understand is that we are not bigger than anyone's program, right? I'm not bigger than anyone's program. You're not bigger than anyone's program. That is
Yep.
their program. That is what they're
Yep.
running. That is how they are. And so, when you are coming online and you have negative things to say about, whether it's people that you dated or,
Mm-hmm.
organizations that you worked with, all of these things, it just tells people what time you're on. Okay, great.
Yep.
So
Yep.
when she leaves my
Yep.
organization, this is what she's going to do.
This is what
Oh,
she's gonna
so
do.
if
Yep.
we break up, this is what she's going to do, right? It tells people what you're capable of. And
Mm-hmm.
I do understand, to your point, Nandi, we do live in an era and a time where it's all about authenticity and be
Yep. Yep.
transparent and be honest. But I want you to really drive home the point of how important, image and composure actually
Yep.
are when you're playing the long game and you're climbing the ladder.
Look, it goes back to the first point we talked about. When you try to live for external validation, then you are going to get the message completely wrong. When you try to live for that external push, that external motivation, things that other people kind of seep into your psyche and your boundaries and your methodology, that's when the exit becomes messy. That's kind of when the intention becomes blurred, right? And I think that people have to understand that when you start to create these internal uh, benchmarks, right? When you create these internal um, spaces and places of validation where you can give yourself that grace and you can give yourself that motivation, that's when the professionalism, in my opinion, the poise, the grace is being shown, because you now have an internal love for yourself. You have an internal love for the career and the success that you've built, and you have a protection over your career. You have a protection over the things that you've built, and to protect that, that means you have to act in strategy. To protect the things that you've built, that means you have to act in a way in which you cannot mess up the things for you. You cannot mess up the career that you built. You cannot. I be damned if I get online and I start talking negatively about X, Y, and Z, and that messes up my momentum. That messes up my career. That messes up everything that I have built for. That's when you start to forget the plot, right? That's when you
Yeah.
start to forget why you are even in the industry, or forget why you are even doing the things that you are doing, because you get so caught up in that external validation, that external sort of praise. And for me,
It's like you want people to say, "Oh my God, they did you
oh my God,
so dirty. Oh
so
my God, I
dirty.
can't believe that happened
Yeah.
to you. Oh my
Mm-hmm.
God, why would they be like that?" It's like you
No.
are putting it out there for that external
Yeah.
validation. And to be fair, I've never
Yeah.
actually thought about it like that, but it
Yeah.
is true,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It is really true. And then you end up burning bridges that you didn't need to, right? If you're actually
Mm-hmm.
playing the game, then you're
Yeah.
thinking, 5, 6 steps ahead of your next move, right?
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
next play.
Yeah.
And if what you're going to do, if what you're going to share is going to implicate you in some way further
Yeah.
down the line, is going to burn a bridge that you may need to
Mm-hmm.
cross further down the line, then you need to think twice about it, because is this viral moment really gonna be worth it? And that
Yep.
is something that I have had to learn in my
Mm-hmm.
personal
Mm-hmm.
career, right? Like, is it worth it to share that opinion if it's going to impact your money, if it's going to
Yep.
impact how brands interact with you? I mean, in the space that I operate in, and the influencer space, in the media space, in the podcast space, there have been times where, brands have absolutely just stolen my concept, right? And
Yep.
ran the campaign without me. And the amount of times that I've wanted to come online and publicly talk about that and say, look at what they did, look at these
Mm-hmm.
receipts. Can you believe that? And while, yes, there is a time and a place to do that, to be fair, it's not worth it to me. To
Yeah.
be
Yeah. Yeah.
fair, it's not worth it to me if I'm not going to go
Yep.
the extra mile and get legal involved and go, go
Yep.
the
Yep.
real
Yep.
route, right?
Go
Like, what is, like,
there. Mm-hmm.
go there. Like, if I'm not going to go there, then I'm not going to, like, half
Mm-hmm.
go there and talk about it online.
Yeah.
Um so yeah, I do think that that's something that we're missing in today, because it's so easy to sell your stories to the internet. It's very cheap. It's very cheap.
It's it's
It's very
it's to
cheap.
be honest, it's like a cheat code to me, right? It's like a cheat
Yeah.
code for virality when you start to talk negatively, because people respond and interact with negative like videos and things like that more than, like, people love a, like, let
Yeah.
me tell you about X, Y, and Z. And so to me, it's like a cheat code to virality. Like, yes, I could expose X, Y, and Z and get all the followers, but what does the industry say? What do the people that actually make those decisions now think, right? Like, do
Mhm.
I want
Mhm.
virality or do I want a nice bank account?
Longevity.
And for me, longevity, there you go. And for me, That does not mean for everybody else, but for me, I value longevity. I value being able to pay my bills. I value using the degree that I worked so hard for continuously throughout my life, right? Throughout my work, throughout
Mm-hmm.
my career. And so it's just not worth it for me
Mm-hmm.
to talk negatively about my past experiences. If anything, I value and I accept them and I thank them, because if it wasn't for my past, I wouldn't be where I am going, you know?
We talk so much about our careers in our 20s, right? It's the
Yeah.
conversation about your career, your career, your career is just so prevalent. But we talk very little about who we become in our relationships. And earlier
Yeah.
in this conversation, we kind of touched on how fashion and the creative industries in general can be so surface level, right? They can be so
Yeah.
vapid, they can be so transactional. There's, a lot of proximity and visibility. There's a lot of social climbing going on. There's access.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, as you're constantly meeting new people, how have you learned to vet your friendships?
I think this is important. I think you have to find your community outside the industry. Like, don't forget those girls that you like grew up with and that you came up with. I have my girls that are like not in the industry. I have my friends that are in the industry. I have my friends who I can go out with, right? Like I have those that don't care about fashion. They were like, they didn't even know my title at any of the places that I worked at, right? So that to me is important. Don't forget those girls when you move to the big city or when you start to get that nice big job or whatever the case may be. That doesn't mean you can't expand your friend group or like meet new women or meet new people to that kind of connect with you, but don't forget the people that you like came up with, right? That would be my
Mm-hmm.
first thing. Um and I think also you like use your intuition a lot, right? Like, because with industry friendships, they can be a little tricky, but I feel like it's use your instinct as much as you can, and then just put those people in a box. There's going to be people that you meet in the industry that you have dinner with, and you can go to events with. You could text and say, "Hey, girl, are you going to this event? I'll meet you there." And then there's girls that could come over to your house before the event, and you right there. And then there's girls that you meet through the industry that stay at your house when they visit you in New York, right? Like, there's going to just be certain levels of people that you meet, and you just have to know the boxes that you put them in, and don't beat yourself up if you're like, dang, I probably shouldn't have done that with this friend, or that this industry friend, this friendship didn't go how I planned. You have to live and you learn with those, and you will
Mm-hmm.
eventually know, like, okay, I like this girl. Okay, this girl, we're cool, but this is the girl I see at events or whatever. Like, just know you can't be BFFs with everybody, and that shouldn't be the goal at all. It should just be keep your circle that you came up with very close and build those industry friendships as they come.
Now, how do you sense between someone who maybe just likes your access versus
Yeah.
someone who actually likes you?
Yeah. I mean, people can always put on a mask. So even if you
Mm-hmm.
think something, it
Mm-hmm.
may reveal itself later. But I would say people always reveal themselves. Look for obviously context clues when you're speaking to somebody, because look, people may be listening to this and they be the person that is doing the things to the people and putting on the mask and whatever. And I will say we did start this podcast with saying be strategic when you go through rooms and all of that. And so I want to say that you have to know what you value in friendships and relationships, and then that'll tell you everything, right? What do you value in a friendship? What do you value in your relationships? What do you value just as a human being face to face, and how do you respect somebody? And that will show you everything, right? Like, I think people kind of accept a lot of different people in their lives, and then they start to say, like, wait, I don't like you, or wait, I'm not really attracted to you, or whatever, because they didn't really have any boundaries when they start accepting these people in the first place. I'm
Mm-hmm.
learning that, like, hey, right now in my life, I value people who like education. I value people who like want to see their businesses grow. I value people that I can talk about like politics and social issues and fashion with. That's what I value. If you don't really meet that criteria, I don't know if we can talk on a weekly, daily, monthly, yearly basis. I don't know if that's
Mm-hmm.
really what I want in my life. So once you kind of have those standards and boundaries of the people that you like, people you connect with, okay, I always connect with this type of person, this, and this, then you can kind of weed out the people that aren't there for you, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
I think that's specifically it. And then it's like placing them in the box. And then also, I want to kind of touch on, then you can have your professional relationships, etc. too, because not everybody who comes up to you needs to be an industry friend, but maybe they're a peer, maybe there's somebody you do have that coffee chat with. So it's really about placing people in certain boxes based upon the boundaries that you set for like your friendships, your relationships, etc.
It's almost
Yeah.
like set the standard and then see who meets it.
And then exactly, there you go. There you go.
Yeah. As you step into this new decade, what do you
Yeah.
want more of, and what are you intentionally leaving behind?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think I'm intentionally leaving behind self-doubt, and I'm
Oh,
intentionally leaving behind meeting anyone else's standards, right? Kind of how we started the podcast was like, I'm moving in ways in which I have never before. And I feel that in this sort of like transition era of me leaving a really big position, going back to grad school, etc., it's because I wanted to do it, right? It's because
mm-hmm.
I, Nandi, said, you know what? We're going to take a chance on me. And I think I'm leaving behind that sort of external validation of anybody else, and I'm living for me. And I think it's literally been one of the best transformative experiences that I have been able to witness with myself. And so I would say I'm stepping more into finding out who I am. I'm stepping more into the positive. I'm stepping
Mm-hmm.
more into um, giving myself that self validation. I'm stepping more into I know what I want to be. I know how I want to look externally. I know how I want to feel internally. And that is what I'm doing. I'm honoring myself. I'm truly honoring myself. And what that means is every day I'm talking to myself about what would make me happy, what would make me accomplish. And I go out there and I do it. I write it down. I hold myself accountable. I create benchmarks. And that's how you honor yourself when you write things down, you check things off, and you actually reach that level and you reach those goals that you've set down to be written down.
Now, is there a version of yourself you're done performing in this new era?
Yeah, for sure. I think I was trying to perform to like be like the girl boss, the young black girl who goes out there and gets it and champions other women and all of that. And don't get me wrong, that's in me, not on me. Like that is just who I am. But I don't have to perform that. Like I don't have to try to prove to people like I really am that support system. I really am that girl that lifts people up. It's like, babe, you see it in my actions. I do it in my daily life. I do it by the text messages I respond to. I do it by the phone calls I take. I do it. I don't have to externally anymore tell people, look what I am doing. That external
Mm-hmm.
validation is just something that does not move me at the moment anymore, you know?
And if a girl in her mid 20s is listening to this, what would you
Yeah.
tell her to get serious about now so she doesn't waste
Ooh,
5 years learning the hard way?
I would say get serious about money management. You know what I'm saying? Like, especially in New York and Cali and all those places where we're like going to big cities and we're like exhausting our funds and exhausting like, um, sort of like everything that we kind of like are bringing in. Get serious about money management. Make sure you get your Amex high yield savings account. Make sure you're like saving a little bit of every check. Make sure you're filing your taxes at the right time. Like, I don't think people talk about that enough. And I really feel like if I was 25 and like somebody was like, make sure you start your savings, make sure you do this, make sure you do that, I think, I would be a little bit further. I'm doing great for myself, but I'm not now. I'm like, dang, I now have this amazing credit and this Amex, savings account and this and that. But what about if I would have had that at 25? What about if I would have had my
Mm-hmm.
little American Express at 25? So I think, maybe it probably would have been in Chanel every other day. But I think
Hello.
that, I think that is so, that's what I would tell young girls listening to this. Like, start the savings account, start the credit union account, start, small little investments and like stock and all of that. Like just kind of get a little bit. You don't have to be like a financial, know it all, but I think it's like just like make sure you're taking your life seriously, your credit, your taxes, etc. So that like when you get to 35, you can buy that house, you can buy that condo, you can buy that car, you can like kind of like if you're like I want to get a Porsche, I want to get a G-Wagon, I want to get this, I want to buy a condo at 35. If you start at 25, you'll be able to do that. Whether you have your own money, you want to take out a loan, you want to do etc., you can set yourself up to kind of live that like luxe life if that's what you
Mm-hmm.
want if you're listening. That's one thing. And then I always say this on panels, and I'll say this till I'm blue. Don't get discouraged by the word no. You're going to hear that so many
Mm.
times. And I think it's really, really, really important that you utilize that kind of to say like, okay, that's fine, I receive it, but I'm going to continue to push forward. Like, it's not something that creates it's not something that creates your villain era. Like, you're not that special that somebody said
Mm.
no. They probably said no to you and 30 other women and didn't even think twice about it, right? So you want to make sure that you just take it, you receive it, and you keep moving forward. Like, it doesn't even, like, the reference where I said the speed bump, and then somebody using that to like pop their tire, or somebody using it to like go really slow. That's just what you that's that no that you're getting over, and then the other no, and then the other no, and then there's no more speed bumps. So kind of just look at it like that, like, okay, this was kind of used to stop me in my tracks, but it's not going to. I'm going to continue to push forward. I'm going to continue to keep doing what I'm doing. So those would be the two things that I would say.
Take the no and don't allow it to become your villain era.
I don't want to be a villain. I just want to be whimsical and chill and be cool and just live life.
Mhm.
But I'm not like here to like prove to anyone that like I can do it, and look, girl, and look how I did it and all of that, because what we talk about, that's external validation. It's like, you're happy for me or you're not. I don't care. I did it.
Before we say our goodbyes, we have a little tradition on Rich Little Broke
Okay.
Girls. It's the moment where our guests share their undisputed certified tip for the girls. So, Nandi, this can be
Yes.
about anything, but if there's one piece of advice that you feel could change the girls' lives, what would it be?
Learn how to do your hair and your makeup and everything like yourself. You get what I'm saying? So don't
Mhm.
because we want to look presentable on days that are not our birthday, right? Like, we want to look presentable and be able to like go out on a night at a town and look your freaking best by doing it yourself. So if I could tell any
Mhm.
girl now, like, take that makeup lesson, get on YouTube, learn how to do your hair, learn how to curl your hair, learn how to do things and look presentable and look how you feel your best by doing it yourself. Of course, we love a little makeup beat down. Of course, we love somebody in our hair and all of that. But as a young 25-year-old, or even like somebody who's like my age, 30 or even older, it's like, take that time to learn how to present yourself so that like when you go into those rooms, like, you are looking bomb. You are looking like your best self. And it's because you did it yourself and you know how you want to look. And then once you do that, you can then tell the makeup artist, the stylist, that this is how I want to look, because you know how to perfect it yourself. Because I think a lot of times, for those
Mm.
girls who can relate, those girls that like we do get our makeup and styling and hair, sometimes we get it all done and we're like, I don't like this, but that's because you haven't really created a uniform for yourself that you like, right? So you want to create that
Mm.
uniform. You want to be able to like if you love your hair pulled back, or if you love your hair straight, or if you love your hair curly, be able to do that yourself. You don't have to be a hairstylist, but just be able to like go out in the world, be able to do your makeup, your lashes, whatever it is, your nails, because there's going to be times where you can't always run to that appointment, or you can't always do X, Y, and Z, and you want to make
Mhm.
sure that you can look presentable.
Nandi, you are the epitome of persistence, of
Thank
a
you, girl.
girl who really defines her womanhood however she sees
Yeah.
fit. And you have really inspired me to keep going, but also to honor myself, right? Honor when
Yeah.
I need the rest, honor when I need to lock in, honor when I need to
Mm-hmm.
show up and support somebody else, honor when I'm uncomfortable, but I still need to go into the room and shake a couple hands and get a couple emails, right? Honor the
Yeah.
fact that I hate hearing no, but I'm still going to
Yeah.
ask anyway.
I hope I really gave some good tips. I hope people really feel like, okay, this wasn't just fluff. I hope people know that I'm really speaking from experience, and take my advice, learn from me, be better than me. And I'm so proud of this podcast. I feel like you're giving women a specific opportunity to talk about where they're at in their career and where they want to go. And I think it's important for people to hear the career, the path, the quote unquote blueprint. I'm excited to see what you do next, for real.
Yeah, yeah, wait. Before you go, leave me a review with a compliment. All right, if you have something negative to say, email it to me. Do not put that on the internet. All right, leave me a review.